Yeah, I do have it now. Now I can show you firsthand. Okay. What we got to looking at is some of the drilled objects on the site, some of the stone objects of the site. Beads, pendants. Did you notice looking through the museum at how many hard stone objects were drilled through? Did you notice that neat sided hole that was drilled through it? Like a modern drill bit drilled them out. We know they didn't have modern drills back then, electric drills, did they? So we had to figure out what did they use to get such neat, straight, parallel holes through these objects. We can rule out one thing, and that's a drill bit with a taper to it, a drill bit that's pointed, and we can rule out hand drilling. Okay, when you hand drill an object, get these straight-sided holes. When you're hand drilling, what's happening to the drill bit? Okay, but it's rolling backwards and forwards, isn't it? Notice how it goes like this. It's not stationary in one spot. You can't do it. You can't just keep it stationary. So if that's going to wobble, and if the drill bit wobbles, are you going to get these straight holes? You can't do it. You're right. You're going to have a wobbling type motion, so you're going to get a tapered perforation every time. It's going to be narrower at the base than at the upper part of the hole. So we got to looking at a lot of poverty point objects here and found out that these people were using hollow drill bits. Because at the base of the unfinished hole, now say they just drilled halfway through the stone and stopped. And you look at the base of the hole, there's this core of stone sticking up from the center of the base. That means the central part of the drill bit is hollow. They were using hollow drill bits to drill. Okay, so we had a kind of something to go on then. Now in early historic times, prehistoric people were using bow drills and pump drills. So we had to pick one, which the poverty point people would have used. We kind of ruled out bow drills right away because of its name. Why? Bow?
Bow.
Why? Exactly. They didn't know what a bow and arrow was. The bow drills were not used until the invention of the bow and arrow. So, these people were using a different type weapon, right? Like you seen in the video? What were they using? Spear throwing device. Yeah, called an atlatl. So, not knowing the use of the bow, they didn't have the concept of the bow drill, so we believe they were using pump drills, like this. Use a cane bit, but you hadn't used an abrasive. Cane is wood. Are you going to drill through hard stone objects with just this bit? Can't do it. Too soft. You had to have an abrasive. And what we're using is what these people found along the Mississippi River on the sandbars. Regular river sand. Sand contains a very hard mineral. Can anybody tell me what that is? Sometimes it's white, sometimes it's clear. And it's very hard, very tough.
Silicon.
The mineral that's found, like when you look across the beach, that's
Silicon.
sparkles on the beach. What is that material? It's granulated, but what's it called? Sometimes clear. Now I'll give you a hint.
Silicon.
A lot straighter than by hand. This is how they drilled thousands of years ago. This is how they would have drilled the holes through the beads, the gorgets, the plummets, and all the different artifacts you were looking at in the museum. Just like that. And look how straight-sided these holes are. Is that straight? I'll tell you what, I'll let y'all pass this around. Take a good close look. Look how straight this is. I started this. Saw this in the video, the boa, but you didn't see it thrown in the video. Okay, now, what they were after, of course, was low-flying waterfowl. Poverty point people lived along the Mississippi Flyway for migratory birds in through here. Okay, now, what this weapon does is when you throw it in the air, now the weights that they use are made of iron ore called hematite. Hematite was mostly used. It's very heavy, heavy material. Now, this is just a cast. It's not the original, so it's not going to go as far or as high or anything. But when I throw this, I want you to look at the pattern that it creates. When you throw these in the air, the weights will separate, like this. Any of the birds fly into one of these cords, what happens? Right, what does these cords do? They start wrapping, right? Like this. You restrict wing motion, what happens to your bird? Drops, falls. Yes, indeed. If you can't flap that wing, it's going to fall down. So that's what these people were after during the poverty point period, was these birds, these large birds. We find like remains of geese, herons, pelicans, things like that. Now, let me see. Yeah, no, throw it out there. I might accidentally throw that far. Might catch our maintenance foreman. Maybe we'll get on out of the way. We probably wouldn't like to be captured with one of these boulders. Okay, when I throw this in the air, just look at the flight of it. Watch how these weights will separate. Anything flies into it. See, they will go after not single birds, but flocks of birds.
Society that was here at this area between around 1250 and 700 BC. It developed out of the indigenous cultures, the mid-archaic that came before it. They too were mound builders, but they were not building on the large scale poverty pointers did. These folks lived here. There's a question as to just how long, but somewhere between probably 500 and 1,000 years. And just kind of petered off when things moved on into the next culture period, which is the Chifunction. They had to import all their stone onto the Mason Ridge because there's no stone here. So they were trading very, very widely, clear up into the upper peninsula of Lake of Michigan for copper, over to Ohio and western Pennsylvania for cannel coal. The Midwest, upper Midwest for various flints and cherts, which they preferred, the northern gray flints as we call them. Missouri saw them bringing galena in. Arkansas, we had novaculite, hematite, magnetite, quartz. Alabama and Georgia, steatite and Pickwick chert. Just stuff from all over. And there are over 150 poverty point sites ranging from southern Indiana clear down to the panhandle of Florida, where they've gotten materials. So we know they were getting around. They brought these raw materials in by the ton. The site is very large. The state owns about 400 acres of it, but the site actually covers about 4 square kilometers.
Was there any Mesoamerican influences that you
No,
knew?
we're not looking at any Mesoamerican influence whatsoever. Although this society existed at the time of the Old Meck, there is no evidence of any Mesoamerican influence. This is strictly an indigenous development.
Do you know anything about the social structure of this, the chiefdom?
There's some guesses. The idea of chiefdoms has been put forth, but now that's kind of falling in abeyance. We do think that they may have been matrilineal, but we really don't know.
And were there any structures that you know of on top of that gigantic mound there?
There may well have been, but since probably some 30 feet or so of that's been eroded, we don't know and probably never will.
Thank you.